A new development as the desperate search for Nancy Guthrie enters week 3. Investigators are looking into new DNA evidence from a single black glove that was discovered about 2 miles from Nancy's house. And the FBI says it appears to match the gloves the masked suspect was seen wearing in that doorbell surveillance video. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Emily Compagno here with my co-host, Kaylee McEnany. And also joining us today, Rosanna Scotto, Fox 5 New York anchor and host of the Underground Economy on Fox Nation. Donna Rotuno, Fox News contributor and criminal defense attorney and host of the Fox News true crime podcast, Crime and Justice with Donna Rotuno. And Paul Morrow, Fox News contributor, attorney, retired NYPD inspector, and host of the weekly rap sheet on Fox Nation. Now, investigators are pushing back on a report attributing Nancy's disappearance to a, quote, burglary gone wrong. The Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos telling Fox this: "It did not come from us," he writes. "No idea, and even though that is one of many possibilities, we would never speculate such a thing. We will let the evidence take us to motive." One source also telling Fox this, quote, "This is not the working theory inside the unit. Nighttime residential burglaries are so ridiculously rare, crazy rare. We don't have any indication that Guthrie really kept anything valuable there. And if this was a burglary gone wrong, they don't take the victim with them usually." The FBI, following the same tune, simply telling Fox this: no clue where that came from. Savannah Guthrie says her family is not giving up.
We still have hope, and we still believe to whoever has her or knows where she is that it's never too late. And you're not lost or alone. And it is never too late to do the right thing.
Such a heartbreaking video, as they all have been. Paul Morrow, what do you think about the latest in this case? How are you reading? What's the current status of the investigation?
So I don't know where this rumor came from either, because I don't see any indicia of that. The only reason I could see that would matter potentially is if they really felt it was a burglary because stuff that was taken could be fenced. And so they knew where to touch to see, okay, if some of that stuff comes out the other side. The problem with that is that they've stated from the beginning that they can't ascertain that anything was taken. So I don't know where this burglary theory is coming from, and I don't really think it matters very much. I think right now you have a couple of vectors that are worth pursuing, and I'm sure they're pursuing them very hard. We know that DNA is something that they're scraping at. The glove reportedly has DNA. The statement that was put out caused a little confusion. The supposed match where they say, okay, it closely resembles. The DNA isn't a close match. They're talking about the glove that they found looking like the glove in the video, which is a very different thing. The other thing, and we've talked about it, Don and I have talked about it ad nauseum, is the stuff in the video that you can go back and do the purchase history. Right? I mean, the Walmart purchase history, we know now at least 2 items they say come from Walmart, right? The mask and the backpack. I think they've likely identified the shirt, although they haven't come out with that so far. So I think that the purchase history, the DNA, look, they clearly swung and missed on the DNA first time around, because if they had gotten any worthwhile DNA, you would be able to say things like, okay, the person's ancestry comes back to Northern European male who has this color eyes, et cetera, et cetera. Good DNA can give you that kind of thing. So I think at least the initial blush of DNA that they reportedly found hasn't gone where they wanted, but there's other DNA in the mix here, and there's always the familial DNA that we talk about. And then the last thing, and I laid all of this out on the ops desk, my website, is if you can get somebody to come forward. And, you know, that's why the reward is so important, excuse me. It's possible you're going to get somebody on the edge of this thing, because if more than one person is involved, that means 30 people are involved, because there's no way 2 people ever keep a secret. If it's one person, you got a little bit more trouble. So that's how I see it. I see DNA, I see clothing match, and I see potential, witness coming forward to give some information. But look, you got to look at Mexico. There's Walmarts in Mexico, too, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Donna, what's your read on the evidence we have and the evidence we don't? There's a lot of speculation.
Well, I agree with Paul. This is going to come down to solving this based on these pieces of information. And what we know is there's this glove was found. Can we link this to the scene? I mean, I think Paul's right. It's a little bit of a stretch to say it's the same glove that you can see on that video, because who knows? Could it be? Maybe. And the fact that there is male DNA on it may lead us to someone. But let's say it does lead us to someone. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's a person who was involved in this, because it doesn't mean that that glove is the same glove. So I think we're still in a lot of unknown territory here. I think it's very clear that there's no true direction in terms of what law enforcement is looking at or looking for, ruling things out, not ruling things out, talking about people that were brought in. They're not cleared, but they were released. I just think we're still in this area here where we still really don't know. And for as long as this has gone on, it's a little frightening for the family and everybody else to have no idea what happened here. But I agree with Paul. You have to look at the Walmarts in Mexico. I know, Kaylee, we've been talking about 17 Walmarts in the area in Tucson, and you know, could have been from somewhere else, and Mexico could definitely be a source there too.
Yeah, Kaylee, it seems I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess difficult to oversimplify the notion that someone would have a direct purchase with either a credit card or cash on video, you know, from a brick and mortar store in this day and age of Amazon and Goodwill and borrowing and getting everything. I mean, half the stuff in my closet was not traceable in that way. I can't imagine for things used for nefarious purposes. I'm wondering if the reason that there's so much speculation is because the control of information has not been very, I would say, either tight or you could say generous from law enforcement. And do you see that as affecting the case as a hindrance, or do you think that perhaps like Kohberger, we will be treated to accurate information coming up soon and knowing that this entire time it's not been not there, it's just been held back from the public?
Yeah, I do think there have been some communications. I'm going to go as far as to say failures on this part. But at the same time, I recognize the very difficult position of law enforcement. There is so much media on the ground. I mean, Paul, you can attest to that. Oh, yeah. And every time the wheels on that SWAT vehicle move, you've got cameras following, you've got drones in the air. And there have been so many ebbs and flows in the investigation. And part of it is media coverage, and part of it is a lack of providing information. But they're in a tough spot when the wheels move on that SWAT vehicle, and then, you know, they're looking at a Range Rover in one location, but it's unclear whether that's even connected to this case. And then there's a house that they acknowledge that they're doing a search of, which is in another area. And the media is trying to piece this together. So the best thing that in my view, the communicators can do is put out information that will not compromise the investigation, but also gives media clear direction. So media doesn't go down these rabbit holes that end up being, let's say, a Carlos situation, the individual who had cameras at his home, and now the sheriff says, look, we don't believe he's connected at this moment, not ruling anyone out, but we're satisfied with his alibi. So that's that. The 17 Walmarts, I would just say this, CBS is reporting that Walmart has given records of all purchases of a black Ozark Trail hiker backpack. They pulled data online and in-store backpack purchases for the past several months, including outside of the Tucson area. So Walmart is being incredibly helpful here. But to your point, Emily, I mean, how far back could this purchase have gone? How long have they been selling the black Ozark backpack? These are all important details.
Yeah, it seems to me like it might be, I don't know, easier or simpler to use AI technology to try to triangulate that backpack within other camera footage there in the Tucson area rather than assuming that that was purchased new from a Walmart. Rosanna, I'm curious, you've covered so many of these, you know, shocking crimes, and just what is your read on this writ large, and especially given that Savannah is one of our own here?
First of all, we know Savannah. I know her obviously from the morning show, but personally as well. And when we see her, we're just heartbroken because we can only imagine, God forbid, if it was one of our family members. But what I'm going to say is I have become an amateur sleuth like everybody else in the last few weeks. I've been disappointed. I thought that I'd wake up in the morning and there would be somebody in custody and it would be over with. But we're finding out so many like crazy little things. Like today, the New York Times was reporting that there were so many discarded gloves around the crime scene, right, Paul? Yeah. And they belonged to the investigators. They were just taking their gloves off and throwing them on the ground. Not even, it doesn't even make sense to me. The other thing that I kind of find interesting that is just being reported on TMZ, Harvey Levin has now received a fourth email from the man claiming to know who kidnapped Nancy Guthrie. And what this person says is kind of interesting. He wants, obviously, money in the Bitcoin account. And he says, in part, I know what I saw 5 days ago south of the border, and I was told to shut up So I know who he is, and that was definitely Nancy with him. So now Harvey Levin has gone on TMZ saying basically, if this is really true, you need to give me more information than this before we start, making sure that you are the person who has the information. So for those of us who are, armchair quarterbacking and trying to figure out what's really going on, where the investigation is pointing these days, it's everywhere.
Right.
It's everywhere. And if the DNA comes back and that DNA does not show that that person is in the crime system, has a criminal background, we're back to square one.
Paul, I have to, given that breaking news, just your take. So we have a fourth email reported by Harvey Levin that says this person saw Nancy Guthrie south of the border, was told to shut up, and says, I have this information, requesting a financial reward for it. Your read on what steps law enforcement would take next, given this breaking news?
Well, a couple of problems with that right off the bat. First of all, you would have to assume that she's secreted someplace by her captors, right? So this guy is saying, I'm going to come forward, but I fear for my life, so you got to pay me this Bitcoin, right? Well, they're going to know, if the situation is how it almost certainly is, that you're the one who saw her, and therefore when they get given up by somebody, they're going to know it's you. So the idea that somehow or other this guy is going to remain anonymous, give me my $100,000 so I can go underground, just defies logic. Second of all, oh, you saw her? What was she wearing? Give us something that we can go on here so that we know, okay, you're legit. Savannah can probably verify it. I don't buy any of this.
Really? Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.